with medicinal plants, I cannot give specific targeted medical advice. That's illegal. I'm not an MD. What I can tell you is the traditional uses and what Western science has found for the medicinal plants. If it sounds like I'm giving you medical advice, that's just a misunderstanding on your part. Please don't get me in jail. Let's talk about the Texas purple sage. This is from the song. Native Texas plant. It's kind of related to sage in that it has a lot of the same chemicals in it that true cooking sage has. Now let's talk about sages, including this one. The term sage, usually that means wise person. And I don't know which came first, the name sage for the plant or the name sage for the wise person, but in the Middle Ages, if you were one of the learned clergymen or something, you drank a lot of sage tea. And they found recently, like in the last 100 years, there's a number of different chemicals found in sage, both the garden variety sage and the Texas sages, that do several things. First, they increase the flow of blood to the brain, so you get more oxygen to the brain. And they also have some chemicals in them that are called nervine agents. It's kind of like a depressant, and nervine basically, think of it as an anti-anxiety drug. So when your brain is doing this, it makes it focused. And so you've increased the oxygen flow to the brain, and you kind of calm down your anxiety, and so you're just able to think better, you're able to do better. College students, instead of the no-dos, drink sage tea. And it actually has a fairly pleasant flavor. You can get it from both the leaves or the flowers. I tell you, just take it from the leaves. The flowers only occur after a heavy rain, and they're very pretty, and they just look nice, and the higher concentration is going to be in the leaves anyway. So collect the leaves and make your tea out of that. You can also use this like a cooking sage. I'll tell you right now, a feral hog and Texas sage sausage that's washed down with a Shiner Bock. That makes even a Minnesotan a Texan. That's a good thing.
Dry them for a couple weeks first.
Yep. Yeah. If you're making a sausage, you can use it just as is. But normally, again, you let this. If you went to my house, you'd see all these plants just hanging from the light fixtures, and in my office at work, I got all these things hanging there. So it's just a good source of sage flavor, and the sage tea. It's a very pleasant tea. And like I said, it's not a depressant. It doesn't put you to sleep. It just helps you focus. So really handy. I mean, most people can need that when it comes right down to it. The leaves are available all year round. Like I said, the flowers only appear after rains. You can buy these at garden centers and so forth. If you plant it, that wants full sun, absolute full sun and real good drainage. So if you're going to plant it on the north side of your house in some muddy soil, it's not going to do well there. You need it full sun, good drainage. Anything else here? Okay, pop over this.
Can I put this in the car?
Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is the Yaupon Holly. Ileotis vomitoria, or the holly which makes you throw up. Now, before it's the berries that make you throw up, don't do anything with the berries. I don't do anything with the berries. I'm after the leaves. The reason I'm after the leaves is because the leaves are the only naturally occurring source of caffeine that grows in Texas. It has about half the caffeine of tea. I want to pass some of these around because I want you to look at the leaf and how the leaf. I want you to look at the edges of the leaf and how the leaves are arranged on the stem, on the twig, because it's really important because there is a poisonous mimic that you need to watch out for. So I'll just pass that around. Okay, so if you look at the leaf, the first thing you'll notice on the edge of the leaf, it's bumpy. Okay, so dentata, I just go with bumpy because it's a fun word to say. And then the way the leaf is arranged on the stem is it kind of zigzags. It's what's called alternating. So instead of right next to each other, it kind of zigzags up the stem. So you see that? So the leaves themselves are bumpy and they're arranged zigzag on the stem. If you look at the whole tree, it's very chaotic looking. So I tell you, look for chaos caffeine if you want to go into that route. So the leaves, really good source of caffeine. They said about half the concentration of the normal green tea leaves, pound for pound. But one of the cool things about this is it lacks the tannic acid, the bitter compound in the regular tea. So if you've ever made tea and let the bag steep too long, it gets kind of bitter and not good. That doesn't happen with this. You can just leave the teas in, the leaves in, and it does not get any more bitter. You just get more caffeine out of it. So it's pretty awesome that way. Now I mentioned there's a toxic mimic. I did not see. Do you have any Chinese privet here? Is it? Oh, thank God. Okay, Chinese privet. It's an invasive plant. It has the same bark, the same size, the same ecosystem, preferred ecosystem as the Yaupon Holly. The differences are the berries are black, and the leaves, instead of alternating, instead of zigzagging up, they're what are called opposite opposed. So there's two leaves directly across from the stem, two more. So when you look at the leaves are just lined up. You know, like when you try and get your kids lined up at school, two straight lines. And then the edges of the leaves are what we call complete. They don't have the bumps. So otherwise, the leaf shape, the general size, the appearance of the bark, it has the mottled gray going on. Very, very similar. The Chinese privet, it's invasive. It's not going to kill you, but it'll probably give you an upset stomach for a while. So you want to make sure you have the chaotic, bumpy, alternating leaves of the Yaupon Holly. Again, you want to let the leaves dry for about 2 weeks before you make it, and then you're good to go. Really, really good flavor. It actually has a slight natural sweetness. It might just be the lack of bitterness from the lack of the tannic. Really good flavor. Everyone I've introduced this to gets hooked on it. And I know there's at least 3 companies now in Texas that sell this stuff. Good, really good. The berries, like I said, will make you throw up. The Native Americans would make a drink from them that was a purative. You know, basically it caused them to purge from everywhere before religious, ceremonies. I guess it just makes the peyote kick in that quicker.
That's what I was wondering if you were going for.
Yeah, so it just, they are more receptive than to talking to each other after drinking the berries. So Yaupon Holly, again, available all year round, and usually the younger, fresher leaves are the ones you're going to want to get the caffeine. Because if you think about it, the chemical factories in the younger leaves, they're firing on all cylinders. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The older leaves, they're starting to break down some. They're not as good, things like that. So you want to just clip the ends. Anyone that has this on their property, they know they want to call it invasive, but it's native, and so it's technically not invasive, but it will spread really quickly. Yep. There's just lots of caffeine. Lots. Pardon? So you can another business opportunity, selling Yaupon Holly.
Caffeine bar.
Yep. Ooh, caffeine rancher. That'd be a cool business card. Okay, now I'm going to pop down here because there's a little weed that's just starting. This is called Sow Thistle. Kind of look at it, feel it, pass it around. It's kind of rough. This is related to the dandelion. Whoops, sorry. Let me do. So let's talk about how to eat the bitter greens. Bitter greens, dandelions, chicory. Have you heard of chicory? Okay. Sow thistle, Japanese hawkweed, cat's ear, 2 of those things. And we'll see some of those probably as we walk about. So 4 ways to handle the bitterness in the leaves. Now, actually 5, because I like bitter, so I just eat them as is. If you like bitter, you're probably okay just eating it as is. But most people find them bitter. If you've ever had endive, it's kind of like that. I'll give you a little more. So 4 ways. The first way is you boil it, which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. Because in the process of boiling it, you turn it to mush. You've extracted all the water-soluble minerals and nutrients from it, but you've also extracted a lot of the bitterness, and so you can just eat this boiled mush. Best way, and this is what I learned from my mom, is you wilt it with bacon grease, hot bacon grease. If you've ever had like the wilted endive salad or some of those where they pour the hot bacon grease over the salad, it's good, it's good. So you can do that with the leaves of this. By far the best way. The other way is you dilute it. So if you take something that is bitter, like the sow thistle, the chicory, dandelion, and mix it with something like henbit, which we'll see later on, or some of the other bland greens, then you can kind of dilute the bitterness so it's more palatable. And then the 4th is you mix it with something sour. So the tongue has a hard time tasting sour and bitter at the same time, and it actually has, responds more strongly to sour than it does to bitter. So if you mix it with some sort of vinaigrette dressing, especially an oil vinaigrette type thing, because then you get the oil thing that's kind of working like bacon grease. I'm working on a bacon grease vinaigrette dressing, but I'm still running into some solubility issues. So I think I'm going to have to mix some cocoa butter or something in there. It's fun being a chemist. So look for it on the stores when it comes out. Other things on the Sow Thistle. This is a small one. This thing will get quite large. You know what the flower looks like on a dandelion, the yellow flower? Okay, do you know what the bud looks like, the flower bud, before it turns into that? Okay, and we might see some. We're just entering the season where there might be some budding. But you take up, well, the way this works is you'll have the flower bud and it'll be closed and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally it decides, okay, it's time to open. So one morning it will open up into that yellow flower, looks like a dandelion flower. And then that night it will close to a point. And the next morning it will open it up. The next night it'll close, back to the point. Third day, open up, close to the point, stay closed for several days, and then the next time it opens up, it'll be the same puffball like on a dandelion. And you make below it, make the wish, whatever. Pretend it's your enemies and decapitate it. Anyway, you want to get them these buds, and this goes for the dandelions, the Sow Thistle, any of these. When they're still closed, if you look at the top, it looks like, I tell people, it looks like it has an innie belly button. So instead of being pointed, it'll be, it's hard to do with my fingers at this point, but it'll kind of twist inwards. And if you go to Foraging in Texas, you'll see what it looks like. Take those buds, the still closed buds that have never opened, and drop them in leftover pickle juice. And let them soak for about 6 weeks.
Leftover what?
Pickle juice. And they turn into if you've ever had a pickled caper, it's kind of like that. But the sour from the pickle juice and the bitter from the bud is awesome. It is the best relish you've ever had. If you like relish, like 4th of July, I always have to serve the brats. Put these pickled buds in. Oh, it's so good. So it's just a trick you can do with that. The root, this is a small root, but when the plant gets big, the root would be the size of a small carrot. It'll be about as thick around as my finger and about yay long. And what I'll do with that is I'll take, like the thicker part where it's as thick as my finger, peel it, get the outer peel. It has all these little roots and stuff in it. And then I'll steam that with baby carrots. And when the baby carrots are done, the Sow Thistle root is done too. And the sweetness of the baby carrots actually does a good job of dealing with the bitterness of the Sow Thistle. Plus the steam extracts a lot of bitterness. So the combination of the two there is really good too. So just a couple of tricks.